Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really important, I think, for the outdoors community. We've dug into a bunch of sources to figure out the best advice on, well, how we actually get the next generation interested in hunting.
Yeah, it's definitely a critical topic right now.
Yeah.
Hunting isn't just a hobby. It's got this whole community around it. It funds a lot of conservation work, which is great.
Right.
But the numbers,
Yeah.
well, they show interest among young people is dropping off. And if that keeps up, it kind of threatens the whole lifestyle long term.
So that's the mission today, to cut through the noise and find the practical steps.
Exactly. We want to pull out a real roadmap from these sources, not just, take a kid hunting, but the actual tactical stuff, how to prepare them, when to do it, how to make it work.
And the sources actually provide a really good structure for this, don't they? It covers everything from the kid's mindset, like, are they even ready? All the way through to planning that very first trip out.
It really does. It's quite comprehensive.
Okay, so let's dive in. The sources seem almost unanimous on the first point, timing. You can't just force this.
No, definitely not. That's probably the biggest takeaway early on, is the difference between, like, something they have to do versus something they want to do.
Right.
And the research is super clear. Your odds of success shoot way up if the interest comes from them first. If you're the one pushing it, it just feels like another chore, like Saturday morning chores or something.
Yeah, I can see that resentment factor.
It builds resentment, or it just becomes this thing they do for you, not for themselves. And that interest, it usually doesn't last.
So it flips the whole dynamic, doesn't it? It's not, hey, we're going hunting. It's waiting for them to ask, can I come next time?
That's the ideal scenario, absolutely.
Do people get this wrong often? I mean, I imagine parents are eager to share something they love.
Oh, constantly. And it's usually from a good place, right? You're excited, you want to pass it on. But pushing too early, before they have that internal drive,
It backfires.
it can totally backfire. Because they haven't built up the motivation to deal with the tough parts. Yet the cold mornings, the waiting, maybe not seeing anything, it connects directly to that first big hurdle the sources mention, attention span.
Ah, yes. The reality check. We might love sitting quietly for hours, just watching and waiting.
Right. For us, it's peace and quiet. For a kid, especially a younger one,
Yeah.
8 hours in a blind could be, well, absolute torture. Not exactly relaxing.
So how do you gauge that? What are the signs?
It's pretty straightforward, usually. If you take them out just to sit and watch, maybe near home, and after an hour they're fidgeting nonstop, asking when are we leaving, maybe trying to sneak a look at a phone, that's a pretty strong signal.
Okay, so they're just not there yet.
Exactly. And the sources suggest, if that attention span is consistently short, you either need to give it a couple more years for them to mature, or you have to drastically change the plan. Maybe the hunt is only 90 minutes long, max.
Right, adjust the expectation. So we need genuine interest, patience.
What about the other big psychological piece? The sensitivity around, the reality of hunting, taking an animal's life.
Yeah, that's maybe the most critical piece to handle carefully. It's a serious thing, taking a life. And if a kid is pushed into that moment before they're in there, they're really mentally prepared for it.
It could create a really negative association.
A lasting one, yeah. So if you have any doubt about how they might react, the advice is pretty clear. Start with something else, an activity focused just on being outdoors in that environment.
And the sources had a great idea for this shed hunting. Can you explain that quickly? What is it and why is it such a good fit here?
Sure. Shed hunting is basically just walking through areas where deer or elk live, looking for the antlers they naturally drop or shed each year.
It's perfect because, one, it gets them comfortable just being in the woods, moving around, maybe learning to spot tracks or signs. Two, there's no weapon involved, zero pressure. And three, crucially, it often introduces them to the cycle of life and death in a natural way. You might find bones, maybe an old carcass.
Oh, so it gently exposes them to that reality.
Exactly. It helps them start to understand the context of hunting, the seriousness of it, without the intensity of an actual harvest situation right away.
Got it. So the foundational message here, before we even talk about gear or locations, is check their readiness, wait for them to show interest, gauge their attention span and sensitivity, and maybe use non-lethal stuff like shed hunting first. Don't push.
That's the core of it. Respect where they are mentally and emotionally.
Okay, so assuming we've navigated that, they seem ready, they're interested, the sources then shift to the practical side. And they bring up something we experienced hunters might forget, the physical demands, stamina.
Yeah, we definitely take it for granted sometimes. That line in the research about the trek before dawn with 20-plus pounds on your back.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder.
It really is. For someone unconditioned, maybe a kid who isn't super active, that's a huge barrier.
It absolutely is. And an
Yeah.
adult might just gut it out,
Yeah.
push through the discomfort. But for a youngster, especially if they're carrying gear, maybe it's cold, maybe it's uphill, that can shut things down really fast. They just get overwhelmed.
So what's the advice? How do you manage that?
You have to manage expectations and pace, build up slowly, the first few times out, take it super easy, plan for lots of breaks, pack good snacks, high energy stuff.
Forget about covering your usual ground.
Absolutely, you're not trying to maximize your own hunting efficiency here. You're maximizing their comfort and enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's a totally different goal.
Right, comfort first. And connecting comfort with feeling capable. Skill building comes next. Practice.
Non-negotiable. This isn't just about being successful. It's fundamental for safety and, frankly, for respecting the animal. You need to be proficient with whatever tool you're using, rifle, bow, whatever, before you're in a situation to take a shot at an animal.
So dedicated range time, backyard practice.
Definitely. Lots of it. Getting the form right, understanding the safety rules inside and out, building that confidence. The sources really highlight this. If they're not worried about how to shoot straight, they can actually focus on the ethics, the environment, the excitement of the moment when it comes.
That makes sense. Removes a layer of anxiety. And as we said, those first few trips don't even need a weapon, right? Just watching animals, doing this shed hunting thing. That gives you valuable intel on their actual interest level before you invest in licenses, gear.
Exactly. It's a phased approach. Now, moving from skills to where you actually go, the sources brought up something interesting for that very first real hunt, thinking about getting a hunting lease.
Okay, explain that. What's a lease, and why would that be better than, say, public land for a first-timer?
So a lease is basically where you pay a private landowner for the exclusive right to hunt on their property for a certain time.
Gotcha. Private access.
Right. And the reason the sources recommend considering this for a debut hunt is predictability and control. Public land can be, well, unpredictable. You might run into lots of other hunters, which adds complexity and safety concerns.
Animals might be more pressured, harder to find.
Exactly. Or the terrain might just be way tougher than you expected. With a lease, ideally you know the property, you have a better idea of where animals are likely to be, and crucially, you remove that pressure of competing with others or running into unknown hunters.
So it reduces the variables, increases the chance of a positive experience.
Pretty much. Remember, the goal is positive reinforcement. A controlled environment just stacks the deck in favor of having a good, low-stress, hopefully action-filled first hunt.
That makes a lot of sense, especially for that critical first time. It's a great bridge to the final piece, really designing that first hunt to be great. And the sources have some pretty strong warnings here too, don't they?
Oh yeah, very clear warnings. They basically say the absolute worst thing you can do is plan a first hunt that's super intense, really long, and has a low probability of seeing anything, let alone getting a shot.
And they specifically called out taking a movie on a tough, multi-day elk hunt in the mountains.
Yeah, that was the prime example of what not to do. The physical difficulty, the potentially low success rate.
Yeah.
It's just a recipe for turning someone off hunting forever. It's too much, too soon.
So flip that.
Well-
What should the strategy be? Prioritize action, right? Seeing stuff?
Action is key. You want to maximize the chances of something happening, keep him engaged. Sitting dead still in a stand for 8 hours hoping something walks by. Probably not the best bet first time out.
So think small game.
Small game is often perfect. Squirrels, rabbits, maybe ducks if that's an option. There's usually more movement, more opportunity for interaction, maybe taking a few shots. Or if you're set on deer, you need a spot where you know there's high traffic. Lots of deer moving through.
Because even just seeing animals counts as success for a beginner.
Absolutely. The research shows that just seeing wildlife, being close to it, is a huge reward for someone new. It makes the whole thing feel real and exciting.
Okay, but here's a challenge to that. What about weather? Hunting often means toughing out bad conditions. If we always wait for a perfect bluebird day, aren't we kind of teaching them the wrong lesson? Don't they need to learn to handle the cold and rain?
That's a really fair point, and long-term, yes, resilience is part of hunting. But you got to remember the specific goal of this particular trip.
Sales pitch trip.
Exactly. You're trying to sell the experience, get them hooked on the excitement. So for this one outing, the advice is control the controllables. If the forecast is miserable, pouring rain, freezing cold, maybe you postpone it.
You want their first memory to be positive, not misery.
Right. Let the first memory be about the thrill of the woods, seeing animals, not about being cold and wet and wishing they were home. You can build up tolerance later.
Okay, I get that framing. Sell the excitement first. And a huge part of that excitement, according to the sources, is making sure the hunt feels like it's theirs. Total ownership.
Ownership is huge. This means, as the mentor, you probably need to put your own hunting goals aside for this trip.
So don't try and fill your own tag at the same time.
Ideally, no, because if you're focused on getting your own trophy, it adds pressure. What if you miss? Or what if you're successful? But it takes away from their opportunity. The focus has to be 100% on their experience, their enjoyment, their potential shot.
Okay, and this leads to what feels like maybe the most sensitive point in the whole process. What happens if they get to the moment the animal's there and they just can't take the shot? Or they do, and then they're overwhelmed by the reality of the harvest.
Yeah, this is critical. The sources are emphatic. And it has to be absolutely okay. No judgment, no pressure, no disappointment.
So if they hesitate or change their mind,
If they hesitate, if they say they can't do it, or if they take the shot and are clearly upset or uncomfortable afterward, the adult needs to step in calmly and handle it. Take the follow-up shot if needed, manage the field dressing, whatever is required.
you don't force them through the discomfort.
Never. Pushing them when they're not ready will do way more harm than good. It damages that trust and their relationship with hunting. Patience and respecting their emotional pace are far more important than success in that moment.
Okay, that's a powerful piece of advice. Let's try and bring this all together then. Key takeaways for someone wanting to introduce a young person successfully.
All right, let's recap. First, wait for them to show genuine interest. Don't force it.
Right. Timing is everything. Then assess their readiness. Really think about their attention span, their sensitivity to the life and death aspect.
Use those lower stakes activities like shed hunting to gauge things. Make sure they practice and get comfortable and safe with a firearm or bow before the hunt.
Okay. And then design that first actual hunt experience carefully. Keep it relatively short. Focus on action and seeing wildlife, not necessarily a trophy.
Prioritize their comfort. Maybe pick a good weather day. Don't push them too hard physically. And make it their hunt. Low pressure, total focus on them.
And be prepared to step in judgment-free if they're not ready for the final step.
Absolutely. That respect is key.
If we step back, it seems like the core appeal of hunting, that connection with nature, the challenge, it's still there, but the starting point is different now.
I think that's what the sources suggest. The game of man versus wild is still the essence, but today's young people might not come in with the same background knowledge or exposure that maybe their parents or grandparents did. So introducing them requires, more patience, more strategy, maybe more controlled environments initially.
Because the future of hunting really does depend on getting this right.
It does. And that leads to sort of a final thought the sources prompt us to consider. If hunting is something we cherish, and times have changed, we've just spent this whole deep dive talking about how success for a beginner needs to be redefined.
Right, less about the harvest, more about the positive experience, the excitement, wanting to go back.
Exactly. Success is them coming home, buzzing, wanting to do it again, even if no shot was fired.
Mm.
So the provocative question is, if we have to shift the definition of success, so much for newcomers, focusing on exposure and enjoyment over traditional metrics, what kind of new traditions might we need to create? Traditions may be less centered on the harvest itself, but designed purely to keep that joy of being outdoors, that connection, as the absolute main goal for the next generation.
What new traditions ensure the joy remains central? That's definitely something to think about.